Hello, everyone, and welcome back to English Practice Room. This is our C2 Advanced English podcast series, where we practice real-world professional topics to improve fluency, listening comprehension, and high-level communication skills. Today's episode will explore three major global issues shaping modern work and society. First, we will discuss layoffs and job losses caused by artificial intelligence. Then, we will move into the future of remote work and digital transformation. Finally, we will examine mental health, burnout, and productivity in high-pressure professional environments. Let's begin.
Thank you for that introduction. These topics are not only timely, but deeply interconnected. Technology, work culture, and human well-being are now part of the same ecosystem. You cannot analyze one without considering the others.
Absolutely. Let's start with artificial intelligence and automation. Over the past decade, we've seen machines move beyond repetitive factory tasks into knowledge-based professions. AI systems now write reports, analyze financial data, generate marketing content, diagnose medical images, and even perform legal research. As a result, many companies are restructuring their workforce.
And restructuring often means layoffs. Corporations argue that automation improves efficiency and reduces operational costs. From a purely economic perspective, replacing 10 employees with one intelligent system can significantly increase profit margins. However, the social consequences are far more complex.
Yes, because job displacement does not affect everyone equally. Workers in administrative roles, customer service, logistics, and manufacturing are often the first to be impacted. These positions traditionally provided stable middle-income employment. When they disappear, entire communities can experience economic decline.
There's also the psychological dimension. Losing one's job is not only a financial shock, it can also damage self-esteem and identity. Many people define themselves through their profession. When automation removes that role, individuals can feel replaceable, irrelevant, or insecure about their future.
Another concern is the speed of technological change. Historically, new industries created new jobs. For example, the rise of the internet created opportunities in software development, digital marketing, and cybersecurity. However, today's AI revolution is happening at an unprecedented pace. Reskilling programs often fail to keep up.
Exactly. Governments and educational institutions struggle to adopt curricula quickly enough. Teaching advanced digital skills requires infrastructure, trained instructors, and long-term investment. Meanwhile, people who are laid off need immediate income, not theoretical future opportunities.
This raises an important policy question. Should governments introduce universal basic income or stronger social safety nets to protect displaced workers? Some economists argue that automation will eventually create new industries, but others warn of permanent structural unemployment.
I think the real challenge is not whether AI will replace jobs, because that is already happening. The challenge is how societies manage the transition. If we fail to design inclusive economic policies, inequality will increase dramatically. Wealth will concentrate among technology owners and shareholders.
There's also the corporate responsibility aspect. Many companies promote AI as innovation while avoiding discussions about ethical implementation. Ideally, businesses should reinvest part of their automation profits into employee retraining and career transition programs.
That would be a more sustainable approach. Instead of treating employees as disposable resources, organizations could view human capital as adaptable and valuable. Unfortunately, short-term profit pressures often dominate long-term social responsibility.
Let's transition to our second topic, the future of remote work and digital transformation. Interestingly, while AI is eliminating some jobs, digital platforms are also creating new forms of employment. Remote work, freelancing, and global collaboration have expanded dramatically.
Yes, the pandemic accelerated a shift that was already underway. Companies realized that physical offices are not always necessary. Employees discovered that flexible schedules and location independence can improve work-life balance, at least in theory.
However, remote work is not universally beneficial. While some professionals enjoy autonomy and flexibility, others experience isolation, blurred boundaries between personal and professional life, and constant digital surveillance through productivity tracking software.
That's a crucial point. Remote work often transfers operational costs from employers to employees. Workers pay for electricity, internet, office equipment, and sometimes even software subscriptions. At the same time, expectations for availability increase.
There's also a global competition factor. When companies hire remotely, they can recruit talent from lower-cost regions. This can be positive for workers in developing countries, but it can also create wage pressure in high-income economies.
It essentially globalizes the labor market. While this promotes diversity and international collaboration, it also intensifies competition. Professionals now compete not only with colleagues in their city, but with candidates across continents.
Another interesting development is the rise of digital nomadism. Some workers travel while maintaining remote employment. This lifestyle offers cultural exposure and personal freedom, but it also raises questions about taxation, residency laws, and job stability.
And let's not forget organizational culture. Remote teams require strong communication strategies, clear leadership, and trust-based management. Without physical presence, misunderstandings can escalate quickly, and collaboration may suffer if not carefully managed.
This brings us naturally to our third topic: mental health, burnout, and productivity. Modern work culture often promotes constant performance optimization. Employees are expected to be efficient, creative, responsive, and emotionally resilient at all times.
The result is widespread burnout. People experience chronic fatigue, emotional exhaustion, and decreased motivation. Ironically, organizations push productivity tools and performance metrics while ignoring human limitations.
There's also the phenomenon of digital overload. Notifications, emails, instant messages, and virtual meetings fragment attention. Deep focus becomes rare. Workers. All right, let's move smoothly into our second topic. We talked about technology and work. Now I want to take you somewhere completely different, but equally important: environmental protection. More specifically, protected natural areas. Many people hear words like national park or wildlife sanctuary, but they don't really understand the difference. So let me ask you directly, what exactly is a national park?
That's a great place to start. A national park is a strictly protected natural area created to preserve ecosystems, landscapes, and endangered species. Human activity is heavily restricted. You can visit, of course, but you cannot exploit resources. No mining, no hunting, no industrial development.
So it's not just about tourism, it's about survival.
Exactly. Take Jim Corbett National Park in India, for example. It was created primarily to protect Bengal tigers. Without strict protection, poaching and habitat destruction would push these animals toward extinction. In these parks, nature comes first. Humans are guests, not owners.
I like that idea. Humans as guests. It changes the mindset. Now let's talk about wildlife sanctuaries. People often confuse them with national parks. What's the real difference?
Wildlife sanctuaries are also protected areas, but the rules are slightly more flexible. They usually focus on protecting specific species rather than entire ecosystems. Limited human activity is allowed as long as it doesn't harm wildlife.
So it's protection with compromise.
Exactly. A perfect example is Gir Wildlife Sanctuary. This sanctuary exists mainly to protect the Asiatic lion. Local communities still live around the area. Some controlled activities like grazing or ecotourism are permitted. It's a balance between conservation and human livelihoods.
That balance sounds difficult to maintain.
It is. If regulations are too strict, communities suffer economically. If they're too relaxed, wildlife suffers. Conservation is not just about animals, it's about social responsibility, economics, and political decision-making.
Now let's move to something even larger: biosphere reserves. This concept sounds scientific and complex.
And it truly is.
Biosphere reserves are massive areas designed for long-term ecological research, biodiversity protection, and sustainable development. They usually have three zones: a core zone with strict protection, a buffer zone with limited activity, and a transition zone where people live and work sustainably.
So it's not only protection, it's experimentation with sustainable living.
Exactly. Look at the Nilgiri Biosphere Reserve. It protects forests, rare plants, animals, and tribal communities. Scientists study climate change effects, wildlife migration, and ecosystem health there. It's like a living laboratory.
When you explain it like that, it feels urgent. Climate change, deforestation, species extinction, these aren't future problems anymore. They're happening now.
Yes, and that's why protected areas matter more than ever. Without them, natural ecosystems collapse. And when ecosystems collapse, humans suffer too. Less clean water, more extreme weather, food insecurity.
Some people argue that protecting land slows economic development. What's your response to that?
Short-term thinking creates long-term disasters. Destroying forests might create quick profit, but it destroys tourism potential, agricultural stability, and climate regulation. Sustainable development is not anti-growth, it's intelligent growth.
There's also an emotional side to this. When people visit protected areas and see wildlife in its natural environment, something changes inside them.
Absolutely. Seeing a tiger in the wild, hearing forest silence, watching elephants migrate, these experiences create emotional connection, and emotional connection creates responsibility.
So, if we summarize this topic, national parks protect entire ecosystems with strict rules. Wildlife sanctuaries protect specific species with controlled human activity, and biosphere reserves combine science, conservation, and sustainable living.
Exactly. And together, they represent humanity's attempt to repair the damage we have caused to the planet.
That's powerful. And honestly, it reminds us that progress is not only about technology and money, it's about protecting what cannot be replaced.
Nature does not negotiate. If we destroy it, there is no backup system. Protected areas are our last line of defense.
Well said. Let's take this awareness with us as we move forward in today's discussion. Before we continue, let's pause and unpack some of the advanced vocabulary from our environmental protection discussion. These words are not only academic, they describe real struggles, real policies, and real global decisions. Ready to dive in?
Let's do it. And remember, understanding these words means understanding how the planet is being managed and protected.
Let's start with protected areas. It sounds simple, but it carries huge responsibility. What does it actually mean?
Protected areas are legally designated regions to conserve nature, wildlife, and ecosystems. When a government declares land protected, it's saying this space is more valuable alive than exploited. It's a statement of environmental priority.
That's powerful. Now we use the phrase strictly protected. What makes something strictly protected instead of partially protected?
Strictly protected means human activity is extremely limited. No hunting, no construction, no industrial use. Even tourism is controlled. The goal is to allow ecosystems to recover naturally without human interference.
We also mentioned endangered species. This term always creates emotional reactions.
And it should. Endangered species are animals or plants at high risk of extinction. When a species disappears, it's gone forever. There is no reset button. Protecting endangered species is about preventing irreversible loss.
Another important word is ecosystem. People use it a lot, but not everyone fully understands it.
An ecosystem is a network of living organisms and their physical environment. Plants, animals, insects, water, soil, and climate all interact. If one part collapses, the entire system becomes unstable.
That's why we use the word biodiversity. It sounds scientific, but it's actually very practical.
Exactly. Biodiversity refers to the variety of life in an area. High biodiversity means a healthy ecosystem. When biodiversity decreases, ecosystems become fragile and vulnerable to disease and climate change.
Now let's talk about conservation. This word often sounds political.
Conservation means protecting natural resources and managing them responsibly.
It's not about freezing nature in time. It's about using resources carefully so future generations can survive.
We also talked about sustainable youth. That phrase appears in many international environmental policies.
Sustainable use means using natural resources without destroying them. For example, controlled fishing instead of overfishing, ecotourism instead of mass tourism. It's about long-term thinking instead of short-term profit.
Another serious concept is habitat destruction.
Yes, and it's one of the main causes of extinction. Habitat destruction happens when forests are cut, wetlands are drained, or land is urbanized. Animals lose their homes. Once habitats disappear, species struggle to survive.
Now let's shift to climate impact. This term feels increasingly urgent.
Climate impact refers to the effects of climate change on ecosystems and human life. Rising temperatures, droughts, floods, and wildfires all disrupt natural balance. Protected areas help reduce this damage by preserving forests and carbon storage.
We also use the term environmental responsibility. That one feels personal.
It should. Environmental responsibility means understanding that our actions affect the planet. It applies to governments, corporations, and individuals. Choosing sustainable products, reducing waste, and supporting conservation efforts are all part of it.
Finally, let's end with a hopeful word: sustainability.
Sustainability means creating systems that can continue without collapse. It's about harmony between humans and nature. Economic growth, social development, and environmental protection must work together, not against each other.
That's a strong ending, because learning these words is not just about passing exams or improving English. It's about becoming more aware global citizens.
Exactly. Language gives you access to global conversations, and the better your vocabulary, the stronger your voice becomes.
Thank you for staying with us for this vocabulary session. Practice these words, use them in your own opinions, speak them confidently.
And we'll see you in the next Advanced English episode. Keep learning and keep protecting what matters.
All right, let's move into our next major discussion. This topic is uncomfortable, personal, and deeply connected to modern life. Today, we're talking about digital addiction and the dopamine economy. This is not just about using your phone too much. This is about how technology is deliberately designed to capture your attention, shape your behavior, and influence your emotions.
Exactly. And what makes this topic especially serious is that most users don't even realize it's happening. Platforms are not neutral tools anymore. They are engineered systems built to maximize engagement, screen time, and emotional response.
Let's start with the term dopamine economy. It sounds scientific. What does it actually mean?
The dopamine economy refers to business models that profit from triggering dopamine releases in the brain. Dopamine is a neurotransmitter associated with reward and motivation. Every notification, like, message, or viral video creates a small psychological reward. Platforms compete to deliver these micro rewards as frequently as possible.
So essentially, attention becomes currency.
Exactly. Your focus, your time, and your emotional reactions are monetized. The longer you stay on an app, the more advertisements you see, the more data you generate, and the more money the platform makes.
That explains why people often feel trapped scrolling endlessly.
Yes, this is called infinite scrolling design. There is no natural stopping point. Your brain keeps searching for the next reward. It creates compulsive behavior similar to gambling mechanisms. You don't know what the next post will be, so you keep scrolling.
That's disturbing, especially when we consider young users.
Children and teenagers are particularly vulnerable. Their brains are still developing. Constant stimulation can reduce attention span, increase anxiety, and affect emotional regulation. Instead of learning patience and deep focus, many young users become dependent on instant gratification.
Let's talk about concentration. Many professionals complain that they can no longer focus deeply.
That's not imagination. Constant notifications fragment attention. The brain switches tasks rapidly, which increases cognitive fatigue. Deep work becomes rare. People feel mentally exhausted without doing intellectually meaningful tasks.
And emotionally, people seem more reactive.
Yes, platforms amplify outrage, fear, and excitement because strong emotions increase engagement. Calm, balanced content doesn't perform as well. This creates a culture of emotional extremes and constant stimulation.
What about the ethical responsibility of tech companies? Do they have an obligation to protect users?
In theory, yes. In practice, profit often comes first. Ethical design would mean reducing addictive features, limiting manipulative algorithms, and prioritizing user well-being. But that would reduce revenue. This creates a conflict between business interests and public health.
So, what can individuals do? Are we powerless?
Not at all. Digital self-control is becoming a critical life skill. Simple actions like disabling notifications, limiting screen time, scheduling phone-free hours, and practicing mindful usage can significantly reduce dependency.
Some people promote digital detox periods.
And they can be extremely effective. Even short breaks from social media improve sleep quality, concentration, and emotional stability. The brain needs silence. It needs boredom. That's where creativity and reflection are born.
This topic really connects to productivity, mental health, and education.
Absolutely. A distracted society is easier to manipulate, less innovative, and more emotionally unstable. Protecting attention is not just personal self-care, it's a social responsibility.
If we look at the future, what worries you most?
I worry about normalization. When addiction becomes normal behavior, people stop questioning it. If we don't teach digital literacy and self-regulation, future generations may grow up without ever experiencing deep focus or mental stillness.
That's a powerful warning.
But there is hope. Awareness is growing. People are starting to demand healthier technology. Governments are discussing regulation. Schools are teaching digital responsibility. Change is slow, but it's possible.
To summarize, the dopamine economy turns attention into profit, weakens focus, manipulates emotions, and creates dependency. But with awareness, discipline, and ethical reform, we can reclaim control.
Exactly. Technology should serve human life, not dominate it.
Thank you for joining us for this deep discussion. Reflect on your own digital habits. Ask yourself who controls your attention.
And remember, your focus is valuable. Protect it.
We'll see you in the next episode. Stay conscious, stay curious.